That was a fun weekend. Honestly, the extra wait was well worth it, as watching the Fuel play in front of their home crowd was exhilarating, and it confirmed to me the potential of a localized esports league such as this. The obvious question is if we'll get that kind of turnout all season, but regardless, I can't wait until we can have passionate fans like that on display for their teams every week. But after 8 exciting games of play over 2 days, who came out on top? And who's going into week 5 of stage 2 already out of it? This is the 7-second summary, and here's how it works. I'm going to go through every team in the Overwatch League in alphabetical order and tell you my thoughts on how they did in the past week. The catch? I have just 7 seconds to talk about each team. As I go through, there will be 5 components on the screen. The first will be the logo of the team that I'm talking about, and below that I'll put their overall match and map scores, as well as their overall placement. Then I'll have the results of their games for the past week, and my thoughts, just a transcript of what I'll be saying, and finally, a score overall from 1 to 10. When I'm done, I'll take my teams with the 3 highest and 3 lowest scores and talk about them in more depth and tell you why I thought they were so high or so low. To end off the video, I'll take a look at next week's matches and recommend 1 match per day and why I'm excited for it. If you can only watch 1 match a day, these are the ones you watch, in my opinion. It's also worth mentioning that if a team didn't play this week, I won't be talking about them. With that out of the way, let's get started. A solid week overall, and you won over the crowd. You made your fans proud this week. These are the games you have to win. Just start preparing for next stage. Just as you were gaining my trust. Good thing there's In-N-Out in Texas. Is this really the best the EU can bring? Fissure? Who's that?
Defeat.
Okay, so contradictory to what my intro said, I'm only going to be doing the top and bottom 2 teams instead of 3 this week, because 1, there were only 8 teams who played, so it's already kinda slim pickings, and also because it's finals week and I want to make a shorter video, so I hope you understand. So, the second most disappointing slot came down to either the Valiant and the Eternal, but in the end, we kind of expect for the Valiant to lose at this point, don't we? Paris is still trying to sell themselves as a playoff contender, and this was not the way to do it. Remember like week 1 or 2 where the Eternal pulled off a huge upset on the Spitfire? People were piling onto the hype train for them, saying that they were going to be the best GOATS team in OWL? Man, those days are far behind us. They met up again this week, and this was a story of 2 teams headed in opposite directions. While the Spitfire have looked more and more competent on their way to a 5-2 stage at worst, the Eternal just looked confused. This week we saw Nico come back in place of Finzi and played the Diva in their GOATS comps. Now, I can sorta see why they did this. From what I understand, Nico has played Diva at a very high level before, and having him there let the Eternal flex him over the DPS heroes like Sombra a lot, which they did. I've genuinely been having a lot of fun watching them get creative, watching Soon on Widow and Shadowburn on Pharah, except it's not working. We've seen them play GOATS, we've seen them play DPS, we've seen them play Bunker, we've seen both LH Cloudy and Ben Best, we've seen Hip and Gray, we've seen Danye, Shadowburn, Soon, and Nico, all of them, and it's not winning the matches. They're just kind of throwing whatever they can at the wall and seeing what sticks, but nothing's sticking. The Eternal currently stand at 2 and 4 at the stage, all but mathematically eliminating them from the stage playoffs. Watching Gesture, of all people, snipe Soon out on Widow at the beginning of King's Row, I felt was sadly symbolic of this team's stage 2 run. Creative, but that only gets you so far when you're just outclassed by so many other teams.
Victory.
Honestly, I haven't had much to say about the Spark in the past. Once you take away their pretty pink colors and their awesome game day graphics, you're left with, frankly, what has been a pretty boring middle-of-the-road team so far. I even joked in my Casuals Guide debriefing that I still couldn't remember the name of their flex support. It's Bebe. I can remember that as Bebe. This week, however, the Spark were faced with 2 pretty tough games in the Hunters and the Eternal, and they pulled through to put together their first 2-0 week since week 1 of the whole season. And I think a lot of their success so far can be attributed to 2 things. Firstly, Gushue is doing a much better job incorporating with his team, or maybe his team is doing a better job playing around him. Either way, one of the biggest knocks against the Spark early on was their insistence on swapping between Gushue and No Smite, and neither of them looking very good. The team finally committed to Gushue, and while there were some growing pains, he has been looking a lot better as of recently. The second is the emergence of the DPS play on this team. Speaking of incorporating a Chinese player, Crystal has gotten more and more playing time as of recently, and he has not failed yet to impress me. He has a shutdown Widow, a pretty good Brig to be used in Goats comps, and even pulled out a good emergency soldier. I've also been liking how this team has used Adora recently for Pharah heavy comps and Godsby, and while he hasn't been the most impressive Zarya player, he really has proven his worth when he gets taken off that hero. While the Eternal are a team that look lost and without an identity right now, conversely, the Spark, it feels, are starting to find theirs. A tough game against the Dynasty looms over them next week, but this team is really close to securing their first stage playoffs berth.
Defeat.
Look, I'm sorry, Outlaws fans, I really am. I genuinely try my best to not put the same team in this position 2 weeks in a row, but when I looked at the lack of competition that they had for this position, there was just no other choice. I mean, even the Valiant went to map 5 against the Dynasty. From you, I just saw the same old Outlaws. Now, credit where credit's due, you did manage to double your map wins this stage. Yeah, when you put it like that, it doesn't seem so bad. Look, I've already gone in on the Outlaws a lot over the past few weeks, and I really don't want to repeat the same things again, so let's flip the script here. I want to say to any Outlaws fans out there, thank you. I was sure that the Dallas Homestand would feature an incredibly hostile crowd against you guys, but it wasn't. Whenever the Outlaws won a fight, the cheering on stream was almost, if not just as loud as when the Fuel did. People make fun of the Outlaws fanbase, and yeah, they can be a little annoying at times, but is that not true for any fanbase of anything? At some level, you have to respect the amount of dedication that they've shown for this team, especially now that they're on a 7-game losing streak. They're in it for the long haul. So, thanks to all of you. I'm sure the team appreciates you now more than ever.
Victory!
Then we get to the main event, the namesakes of the weekend. Or, wait, is that Bud Light? Whatever. The Dallas Fuel games were just as exciting, if not more exciting, as I was hoping they'd be. Sure, objectively, they had really easy games this week, but who would have guessed pre-season while they were scheduling that both the Valiant and the Outlaws would be bottom 5 teams at this point? Not many people. If you did, you're either lying or an oracle, and I expect to see evidence in the comments, after you like and subscribe, but that's off topic. The point is that the Fuel went into this week with high expectations and they smashed them, only losing one map all week. I think the biggest reasons why right now are the tank line. OG was by far the hero of this week with massive shatters and stellar main tank play overall, so much so that the crowd started cheering his name. I mean, I just loved seeing that. To anyone, that's just a dream right there. Note has also integrated into this roster shockingly fast, providing insane support for his main tank and also coming up with some clutch gravies. And AKM has continued his insane redemption arc, not just with great Zarya play, but he also did a great job with McCree and Sombra when he was put on it. I was so happy to finally see Zachary play some other heroes like Hanzo and excel at it, and I've already raved about how Closer and Unko are a top tier backline. With the audience roaring with every teamfight win they had, it was incredibly obvious. The Fuel were the stars of this week, and putting them anywhere other than number 1 this time would just be ridiculous. Whew. Back in LA, and we are ready to round out the Stage 2 playoffs, where it feels like there are so many teams fighting for the last 3 spots. On Thursday, I'll be looking at the Fusion versus the Shock. The Shock's record-breaking map win streak in Overwatch League is still active, but will it hold up against a 3-3 Fusion squad? This game is life or death for them. For Friday, give me the Boston Uprising versus the LA Gladiators for similar reasons. The Gladiators are trying to close out a perfect 7-0 stage, but standing in their way is an Uprising team that needs to go 2-0 this week to even have a chance at playoffs. What tricks do they have up their sleeves? For Saturday, I'll take the Hunters versus the Valiant. At 3-3, the Hunters can secure a playoff berth if they comfortably put the Valiant away, but now that they're back in their home crowd, I feel like there's a decent amount of upset potential here. Honorable mention to the Reign Excelsior rematch. Finally, on Sunday, I'll take the Seoul Dynasty versus the Hangzhou Spark. Depending on how the games before them go, this could very well be a win-or-go-home situation for both teams, and a fantastic way to end off the first half of the season. And that's it! Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. What did you think about last week's homestand, and what are you looking forward to for next week? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video and want to see more, leave a like and subscribe. I make Overwatch League videos every week, and I would be thrilled if you took just a little time out of your week to watch them. Until next time though, that's all from me. Don't get tilted.